Hello everyone. A volcano based upon its frequency of eruption can be classified into active, dormant or extinct. An active volcano is basically one of those where the eruption happens quite frequently, like for example, one in every 200 to 500 years. However, in certain cases, active volcanoes are also considered as the ones where any volcanic activity has happened in the past 1000 to 10,000 years. That also sometimes classifies into an active volcano. Behind me, what you can see is the only active volcano in the entirety of the continent of Europe, and that is Vesuvius. Now, Mount Vesuvius is quite notorious as an active volcano because here, one of the major eruptions which happened and which has been widely recorded was in 78 AD, when the eruption engulfed the entire towns of Pompeii as well as Herculaneum. And those were the towns which for a long period of time were lost from the rest of the world. It was only in the 1700s when excavation by the archaeologists indicated that there was an entire town buried under the volcanic lava and the rocks which had formed and which had basically solidified over the living bodies. Now, as you can see in the background, there are multiple different peaks. So you might even get confused which one is Vesuvius and why are there so many peaks if there is one volcanic eruption. So this is a part of a larger caldera. The entire caldera has got a backdated history almost going back to 400,000 years. And when I say caldera, you can easily imagine that this would have been a very massive eruption where the emptying of the magma chamber would have led to the subduction of the entire region. Now, why is it that there is still so much of eruption which is happening, despite the fact that the magma chamber was emptied into the formation of caldera? Now, once the magma chamber gets emptied, the recharge of magma chamber is always dependent on fresh subduction of any of the plates. Now, in this particular case, this lies to the southern tip of the Italian peninsula. As a consequence, this is a region which has been witness to an active volcanic activity, but at the same time due to tectonic activities which have been happening in the region. Due to which, despite having that old caldera, you have an eruption in the middle of the caldera forming Mount Vesuvius. Now, which kind of subduction am I talking about? So if I can show you entire region of the caldera, as we move further to the left, you will see the Gulf of Naples to the south here. Now, this is where you have the water body. Now, this is the water body and the oceanic crust which is undergoing subduction underneath the Eurasian landmass. So not only is the active example of plate tectonics, but it also indicates to you what the future of the region is going to look like. To the south of this water body lies the African plate, and the African plate is moving continuously northwards. As the African plate pushes northwards, the oceanic crust gets subducted underneath this Eurasian landmass. That is why immediately at the junction where the continental landmass starts, you experience significant amount of volcanic eruption. Whenever these volcanic eruptions happen, they always are an indicator of the fact that there has been fresh amount of subduction, and as a consequence of that, there have been newer eruptions. The last major eruption which occurred in around 1940s was actually an effusive eruption. And when we say effusive eruption, there was not great amount of gas which was released, but at the same time, the magmatic material spread out in the entire region. So this tells you that going ahead into the future, this water body that you see, that is going to disappear. And just like in the case of India, what we observe in the form of Himalayas, now those Himalayas, remember, where the Himalayas are present today, there was a Tethys Sea. Now all this water body is just like the remnant of the Tethys Sea. In fact, the Tyrrhenian Sea here, that has also got an oceanic crust which is quite old, and certain estimates indicate that this can be as old as 200 million years. So as the African plate further pushes northwards, this water body is going to be reduced into another set of fold mountains, and maybe if the movement is massive enough, that can lead to the tallest mountains going ahead into the future. So that tells you about volcanicity, that tells you about caldera, and that tells you about plate tectonics as well.